Rise and Shine Rwanda, it's Tuesday the 10th of February.
Coming up on today's Rise and Shine Rwanda.
Everyone deserves a little fun. We party with the kids at a special event.
While the parents are away, the babies will play. Fidelis looks into the business of daycare centers.
And we visit the latest installment of an event that's changing the face of Rwanda's entertainment scene.
Good morning, it's just after 7 o'clock in the morning and you're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Regis Isheja.
And me, Makeda Mahadio. Over the next hour, we'll be bringing you all the latest news, sports, and lifestyle headlines from here in Rwanda and around the world. And the Rise and Shine team are, of course, here with us in studio. It's Tuesday. We're over the Monday blues. What do you have for today?
Well, I told you before that I'd bring you a report about daycare centers in Rwanda. Well, it's here. You're going to see all those little cute kids on the show today. Really cute.
Okay, we're ready for it. And Arnold, in the world of sports?
Two major tournaments already done with this year. Australian Open is out of the way. African Cup of Nations. We're looking forward to the Cricket World Cup. Your West Indies are going to be in contention. And the Proteas and Super Rugby is back.
Windy.
That sounds like Chinese to me. Like
All that and more still to come, but first, Rise and Shine story of the day. You probably know the late Cyprien Rugamba as one of the greatest entertainers our country has ever seen. But did you know that Rugamba and his late wife Daph Rose also contributed to Rwandan kids staying off the streets and growing up in a good environment? Fidasco, a children's center opened by the late couple, recently had its annual party. We took part in the festivities. Kids playing on a sunny day, laughing, smiling, and enjoying themselves. Just the way it should be. Fidesco, a center for children, throws an annual party for these kids, and they love it.
Iyi porogaramu yatangiye n'utwa Super Daffers Rugamba bakaba ari abanyarwanda b'abahanzi. Aribo bashinze n'iki kigo cyitwa Community Emmanuel bakaba rero babonye abana baga mu muhanda bakawugirira impuhwe bakumva kandi bashobora kuvamo abana bazima bagira icyo bamarira igihugu cyabo.
This is not just all games. It's also a way for these kids to mingle, get to know each other, and learn the basics of life.
Ko mbikunda nuko banasabanye n'inshuti zanjye kandi yabaye n'abandi bantu tugomba kwishimirana twese tukamenyana.
Aside from all the fun, they're also getting their feet wet in the ICT world.
I was really glad to learn that one of the methods for rehabilitation is to expose them to new technologies. And we are talking with the Minister of Education to see how we can even strengthen the capacity of this center to provide more hands-on IT skills, which is a pathway towards normal education.
IT, in this case, is also helping them learn their everyday class lessons in a different and fresher way.
IT itself is a discipline, but using IT to learn all sorts of other things like art, drawing, but also subjects like mathematics, English, physics, and everything you can use IT to learn. And it tends to be faster and tends to be more fun for kids and young people to adopt.
This is a special day for these kids, and they also get to invite their friends and neighbors to the party of the year.
Umunsi twari twatekereje kugira iteka ku mwaka utangiye tukora umunsi mukuru w'abana kubaha noheli kwifuza umwaka mwiza ariko abana baba mu kigo cyacu bagatumira bagenzi babo bagatumira abo baturanye kugira ngo bose bishime bumve kandi ko ari abantu kimwe n'abandi.
A long, long way from their former life on the streets. Regis Isheja, Rise and Shine Rwanda. And joining us in studio is Grace Muimundu and Annelise Munyana from Chaba, Rwanda. Good morning, Grace and Annelise.
Good morning.
All right, the first thing I really want to know is what's the first experience like when these kids have been on the streets for such a long time and all of a sudden they're in a, family-like environment,
Controlled
environment. How does it work?
So basically the thing they lost in the streets is the confidence and the trust in adult people. So what they try to regain is really the trust to each other, to themselves, but also to the adults.
How do you recruit the kids for the program?
So the center actually has former street kids who've grown up in the center and who are now in their 30s, have gone to school and come back to the center. And so the Centre Rugamba uses these people to go out in the streets and actually bring those kids to the center.
Now, the thing is, I was a huge Rugamba fan. I think his music has been some of the great we've had in this country, if not the best. Now, when he thought about it, because it was in 1992 that he started the whole thing, right? When he thought about it, was it the same thing as it is now? Like you had these kids, was it Maibogos on the streets? Was it just regular kids? How did it work?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, basically it was, there was kids who were in the streets. Mainly they were at marketplaces or near buses where they can easily beg for money. So there is a story which we got to know from Dorsey Rugamba, his son, that is maybe not the accurate one, that the mother was actually selling milk at a market.
I heard, yes.
And, but we're not very sure if it's really the right story.
I think it is true,
it is
because
okay.
I read something online as well.
And as I was doing my research, that's what I came across as well, yes.
So yeah, she was selling milk, and then she was feeling sad about this kid, starting giving them milk, and then she got the idea really to set up a center, because giving them milk is not going to solve the whole issue. They need to go back to schools, get reinserted in the society. So she really thought bigger and got also some funding from Communauté d'Emmanuel, where they also supported them with funding, but also with capacities.
So do you only work with the children, or do you sometimes work with families who are also vulnerable, who can't manage the children, or they're having problems? Is it only with the kids?
Actually, the center, because it's a rehabilitation center, so they work in partnership with parents in the cases where the children do have living parents. And in the case where the children's parents are deceased and the children are orphaned, they work with close family members, so like the aunts, the uncles, and if not, they will work with the adoptive family. So they try to really create this link between the child and the parent or the adoptive parent.
Now, we saw the Minister of Youth and ICT, the Honorable Jean-Philibert Sengimana. He was talking about how they're trying to incorporate IT and ICT in their learning experiences. How does that work?
They've just donated computers to the center, and thank you so much to the Ministry of Youth and ICT. He came over, he saw the kids, and he's like, we're going to give you guys computers.
Right.
So we were super happy about that, because we've also noticed that it's also an aspect of actually integrating them into society, teaching them how to use technology, modern technology, and so it's really been working out great. A lot of the kids can type up stuff on the computer and everything, so it's pretty impressive.
So after they've finished the program, after they've been reintegrated or they finished their rehabilitation, do you keep up with them? Do you follow along? Is there any ever relapses or?
So basically that's the great support from the center. They really go back into the families, see how they were integrated, because these kids, most of them go to the street because there were some violence in their families, some mother-in-laws didn't really accept them. So it's a big of a background of a violent environment. So what the center does is really to go back, to talk to the kids, make sure they're happy in their families, and if they are not, they take them back. But really the idea is to have a follow-up on not only a monthly basis, but even years later, they keep a contact. And even the kids, when they have an issue, they go back to the center. It's
Now-
for them.
Now, I remember sending this to Grace as I was kind of prepping for the interview, and we were talking about how back in the late 90s, there was a lot of maibobos in the cities and all that, and that used to break my heart because I was like, these kids just need a family, they'll be all right. And now, how does it work? Because you still see a bit of that. It's not as much as it used to be, but there's still, some here and there, especially downtown. How does it work? Do you still engage them? Do you get them to be motivated to want to come to the centers? How does it work?
I mean, it's obviously not easy because these children, they get used to this lifestyle of the streets. And people sometimes give them money, which is very discouraged. I mean, if you can give them food, give them anything but not money, because that's what keeps them coming to the streets. There are several centers, maybe not exactly the same as Rugamba, and they try to take the kids and reinsert them as well, but it's not easy. And you've also heard about the island, I think Iwawa Island, where some of the kids have been taken. And so there are different methods, but I think we've really started to work with the center because we felt very comfortable with their method of reinsertion into society.
So how can one volunteer or get involved with this project?
Wow. You can talk to us. We actually created a Facebook page, Centre Rugamba Center. It's on Facebook. We're going to be posting the pictures of this party. And also, our group of friends who've just been we've just started this. This is like our third year of doing this party. You can reach us on this Facebook page, or you can write to us on centrerugamba@gmail.com. And may I please give some shout-outs to people who've really been very supportive before we finish. So I would really like to thank the Centre Rugamba for the volunteers, the staff. They've been super helpful and hosting the party with us. MIGEPROF, Ministry of Gender and Family Planning, as well as the National Commission of Children. They've really been very supportive as well. The Ministry of ICT, Minister of ICT, obviously, the Youth and ICT. The IMF donated a huge amount to the center as well. Sawa City, Chocolat, the Chairman's Club, aka Albert. Albert, you guys, everyone knows him, I think, in Kigali.
Okay, some big shout-outs.
Big shouts out. And two last ones is Exacom. They've been super helpful as well. And all the friends of the center and We Care friends.
Before we have to wrap up, how did you come up with the idea of the party? Because it's so cute. The kids seem to be having so much fun.
Right.
Actually, our friend Alice, who is not here, she came up with this idea. She's like, how about we have a party for the kids? Because 3 years ago, there was a kid that we knew who was in the hospital at CHK. And so our first party was at CHK, actually, 3 years ago. And so we were like, why don't we throw these kids a party? Just something small. It doesn't have to be huge. Right. And so we've managed to get singers to come and do shows for them. We've managed to have people come do speeches, and we've all just kind of.
It must be really encouraging for them.
It is.
It is, and we kind of also get so much from them. It's not only them getting a party, but we're also getting so many feelings, and they were so kind kids. We have fun, and it's actually a really big party for all of us.
It is. Mike, did you see them dancing in there?
Just watching, I was having so much
fun.
Right.
We were having too much fun.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Alice, that was great. You're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Let's get to today's business headlines. Fidelis Karangwa has the details.
Business stories making headlines today. The Rwandan franc has continued to depreciate against the US dollar despite expectations by the central bank that it would recover some ground last month. According to a report by the National Bank of Rwanda, the franc has so far depreciated by 0.85% against the US dollar as of last month. This has been attributed to the dollar's global rally, which affected almost all other currencies and increased demand for imports by Rwandans. And the government intends to construct a cross-border market near the renovated Kagitumba border post to boost informal cross-border traders. The market, which will be built on 2 hectares of land, is expected to facilitate links between traders, markets, and producers. We will also have other facilities such as an open market, banks, forex bureaus, restaurants, and a parking lot. Now, the number of women in the country's workforce has significantly grown over the past couple of years, with over 64% of them constituting the Rwandan parliament, and many others involved in other economic activities. This has to some extent been amplified by the contribution of childcare centers, which helps take care of their children while they go back to their jobs. I went to find out about these childcare centers.
My chin, my neck, my fingers.
Childcare centers were in the past considered a luxury by most, as it was believed to be a woman's responsibility to take care of their children at all times. This has however changed, with most women preferring to leave their children at childcare centers and getting back to work. And for Esther, a parent here at Peace and Hope Nursery School, she says her children have become very clever since they started attending this school.
Mbona ari ngombwa ari na byiza cyane umwana agira ubwenge akirinda bimwe byo muri quartier by'imico mibi.
Abana barajijutse cyane, urabona nk'uwanjye wigamo aravuga icyongereza nkayibereka ibyo ari kumbwira, yarangiza akambwira uzajye kureba Arubera agusobanurire wewe yarize uri nkandagira bitoma uzaze kwiga. Mbese urabona ko abarimu babigisha barasobanutse cyane.
For this care center, however, business is not easy, as very little money is paid by the parents to go towards tuition fees. And for the caregivers as well, having to take care of so many young children has proven to be a challenge.
Nta urebye Minervare ntayo ni nk'umusanzu dutanga, kuko nta shuri rya Gardienne ritanga amafaranga ngana kuri, ni nk'umusanzu kugira ngo abarimu bashobore guhembwa, naho ubundi Gardienne nyinshi zitanga amafaranga menshi cyane nk'ibihumbi 50, 60 kugeza no mu ijana yewe.
It is really not easy because you face a lot. Some kids are too young. You find that you have to pump them. You find yourself you have to wash their hands, what and what. So it is really a hard task.
Although the government is in the process of setting up cheap and even free childcare centers in most parts of the country, for most caregivers, they believe that more efforts should be put in place to encourage parents to bring their children to the centers, as most do not understand its importance.
What should be done is these leaders of ours, like the community leaders as in LCs and whatever, they should put in more effort to talk, I should say personally, to those parents and encourage them and show them the right what those kids have to education.
With this being a trending and even profitable business for some people, one can easily say that these childcare centers have been of great benefits, especially for the women. Karangwa Fidelis, Rise and Shine, Rwanda. Joining us in studio is Albert Musabjimana, founder of Peace and Hope Nursery School. Welcome, Albert, to the show.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah. So according to the conversation we had earlier, I understand for you, when you started this nursery school, it was basically as a way of you giving back to your community, the one you grew up in, and you saw some of the problems that were in the community, like, you know, these young children who had no place to go. So how long has this nursery school been there for, and how is it doing so far?
Yeah, thank you very much. We have this idea of give basic education to those children, because, you know, their mother, they don't care about education, because most of them, had child-headed households. They had to assume a lot of parenting after losing their parents and their auntie families, and sometimes they got unwanted pregnancies, and they don't, so they're not able to give them basic education, and when they go slow, they don't get that chance to go in primary school, because they don't have that basic education. And so, as the one who got the chance of being educated, because after even we had to assume a lot of parenting, government of Rwanda and other people helped us to progress our study, and we got success from schooling, and we said our neighbors should not live as we lived because, you know, we suffered a lot, and it is where the idea came from to see what we can do. It's like a gratitude to the government of Rwanda and other people who helped us to grow up, and that's why, you see, we started that nursery school to give them basic education to see if they can keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's been there for how long? How long has it been running for?
Yeah, it's now 3 years,
3 years.
because we started in 2012, and now last year we did like a campaign of telling the interest of giving the basic education, like ECD agile development, because it is very important to the children who are vulnerable. So because now we have many children, many kids who want to come to access that basic education. We are limited to allow them to come, but we are praying God to see if we can get capacity to allow them to come in our ECD center to get that basic education. Yeah.
Now we see very many daycare centers all over Kigali, even up country. It's becoming something that people are getting used to and venturing into it as a business. And you know, for some, they're actually doing very well. Actually, one of the people I interviewed of yours was saying the people pay up to 100,000, even more, to have their children attend these daycare centers. So I understand that has been a challenge, especially for you being in a community that not so many people can afford that kind of money. Please tell us a bit more about some of these challenges that you've been facing.
Yeah, we got that challenge because, you know, our community created by the people who have been selected in former Kigali city, where they have selected two people in each sector in former Kigali city, where those people are vulnerable, like those childhood households and the childless elderly and the people living with HIV. And we grouped us there as those people have the problem, and we reached there in 2005. So those children who are 12, 13 years, 15 years, they don't get that education because, you know, the parents were depending on food donations, and they don't care about education. So as I told you, we sit down and you see we got success from schooling. The people, the government, people helped us. So what can we do to help? I show you the hall where we started because the idea of the hall was just to see if we can teach each other, and we teach the...
Actually, that's the next question I was going to ask you. I understand you had told me as a way of raising money for your community, you were to start the Agaseke program in your community so you can get money to support your community. How is that going, and when should we be able to see the benefits of that for your community? Yeah,
it's because, you know, as I told you, it's like a gratitude to show. If someone gave you a cow, we have also to give it again to him, to show that you appreciate what he did to you. But we said the government, as the President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency, came to visit us, and no way to show him that we know that he helped us. So to show that, we have to help those people who are unable to help themselves. So it is where we had an idea of a hall where those childless elderly, those people living HIV, where they can make those basket whatever. But it is not like it is not going well as we wished. But now we are saying we have to help those young people. The foundation of a state, it's like it's an education of the youth. It is where we had an idea of helping the smaller children. The parents are not able to really give a contribution. Exactly. When we ask them a contribution, sometimes they take back the children because they said, but as the one who had that idea, I don't wish the kids to go back home because of no money. I totally understand. You're doing a great job, Albert, and we wish you all the best, and hopefully we'll see these kids are indeed the future, so we hope to see them doing very well in the near future. Thank you very much for coming to the show. Thank you very much.
Well, you're up to date today's business headlines. Sports news coming up next in just a minute with Ono Kwizera.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Time now for your sports news. Arnold Quizera. Starting with basketball, newcomers IPRC South men's team started in the National League Basketball League with a home 82-64 win over neighbors University of Rwanda's College of Arts and Social Sciences on Saturday. Integrated Polytechnic Regional Center Southern Province came from a 36-25 halftime deficit to beat University of Rwanda College of Arts and Science 82-64. The University of Rwanda won the first quarter 17-14 and the second 19-11, but the debutants recovered to take the third and fourth quarters 21-17 and 36-10, respectively. IPRC Southern's Bienvenue Niyonsaba scored the game-high 28 points, while teammates Yesman Bushiri and Hav Ikishatse added 22 and 18 points, respectively, to help their team off to a winning debut. On to cricket. With the Cricket World Cup around the corner, South Africa's Proteas, England and Pakistan all enjoyed comfortable victories in their World Cup warm-ups as they enjoyed wins in the pre-tournament friendlies. South Africa beat Sri Lanka by 5 wickets with just 3 balls to spare in a thrilling rain-interrupted World Cup warm-up in Christchurch in New Zealand. Sri Lanka smashed 279 for 7 in their innings, which was reduced to 44.4 overs after rain stopped play at Hagley Oval. So Haib Maksud spared Pakistan's blushes by hitting an unbeaten 93 to secure the team's 3-wicket victory over Bangladesh in their first World Cup warm-up match. And finally, with rugby, France slipped to an unspectacular 15-18 victory over spirited Scotland in the Six Nations as both England and defending champions Ireland registered hard-fought victories. The Scots continued their recent improvement under coach Van Coetzee with a solid defensive display that frustrated the error-prone French. The visitors to the Stade de France in Paris even scored the only try of the match right on the stroke of half-time through Dougie Faye's first international score in only his fourth match. Conor Murray and Tommy O'Donnell scored a try apiece, and Ian Ketley kicked 14 points as defending champions Ireland launched the defense of their title with an uneven performance in a 26-3 win over Italy at the Stadio Olimpico. In the opening fixture, England extinguished early Welsh fire with clinical finishing, a brutal display of forward power, and a dominant second half shot to secure a 21-16 victory in an absorbing Six Nations Championship opener on Friday. Striking the first blow in a World Cup year, England held the host scoreless in the second half to quieten a noisy Millennium Stadium crowd and avenge a record 33 defeat 2 years ago in Cardiff.
So the Six Nations competition to me has always been like the Champions League of rugby. Would you say that?
I think you would say that for European rugby, not
right.
Southern Hemisphere rugby. Right now, the Six Nations Championship started over the weekend. It's a very big tournament, you know, with Italy, England, and especially in a World Cup year. Teams are all gearing up their final pre-selection squads. The big game, the one everyone was talking about over the weekend was England versus Wales. England avenging that defeat from Cardiff, embarrassing defeat when Wales went on to win what they call the Grand Slam of rugby, where you win all your matches in a calendar year. Wales destroyed England. Wales had a similar lineup to what they brought this time. But then there were so many questions on how they handled the players. I don't know, Warren Gatland has a lot of questions to answer to the Welsh fans. How George North could stay on the pitch after 2 concussion tests. Liam Williams should have been a starter in that game, going by his previous performance in the game against South Africa, where Wales beat South Africa. Wales came into this game as favourites. When you look at the England lineup that was brought in, Jermaine Joseph was playing what you would call his first test in that position as a centre. England still struggling without the centres. Kylie Esmond is out with injury. Mani Tuilagi is out with injury. So you could, they had a little unbalanced team. I think England have to thank the Vunipola brothers, that's Bini Vunipola and Mark Vunipola. They put up a very impressive performance when it came to the scrum downs, where they dominated Wales. I think Wales now have to rethink about recalling Adam Wild-Jones for their next test, where they're going to be playing Ireland over the weekend.
Now, the the Cricket World Cup is just around the corner. You have England, you have Proteas, you have Pakistan, and you have South Africa, which all registered friendlies wins lately. What do you think is going to happen?
I think this is going to be the most open Cricket World Cup when it comes into here. Unfortunately, when you look at a team that we felt could be in contention for this World Cup, a team like West Indies, it's not in contention because of the troubles back home. They dropped two of their best players. There's no way a team without Pollard and Bravo is going to take on, you know, a South African team that has the likes of Sean Pollock, A.B. de Villiers, Hashim Amla, you know, Marcus Ntini. So I think it's, you see in the game against Mutia Murilatharan, who is arguably the best bowling, he's the best bowler in the world, the Sri Lankan. He couldn't destroy that top order, the South African top order. When you look at South Africa's strength this year, and unlike previous World Cups, their strength is in the bowlers, where you have Mone Mokel, you have Mone Steyn. These are all very fast-paced bowlers. But where I was calling it an open World Cup, Australia playing very good, well coming into the World Cup. England destroyed West Indies in their friendly, whereby Woks took on the best batsman in Henry Gale and had him out for one run, and he destroyed the whole West Indies top order. So it's going to be a very open World Cup. Michael Stark is playing well for Australia in the Big Bash League. And I think Australia's, apart from the fitness problems of Michael Clark, who's their captain, Australia are going to come in as big favourites, being that they're at home. But South Africa and New Zealand and the Sri Lankans and Indians, as usual, are going to come to the party in this World Cup tournament.
Now, before we wrap up, national basketball, the league is back on. You have newcomers like IPRC. What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to have the same teams we usually have, Espoir, APR, or do we have newcomers that can make some noise?
I think IPRC are a team to watch out for. I watched them in the preseason tournament where they took on APR and Espoir. They lost terribly to Espoir, but in their third place playoff match in the Heroes tournament against APR, they put up a fight. They led the first 2-3 quarters, and here we see them taking on APR, that IPRC team in green. They have, I think they're the team which Rwanda can build its future on. These are very young players, and their big men are really big men. And, you know, Rwanda's problem has been the lack of big men. We lack centers, and that's a problem that went on to affect the national team at the Zone 5 championship. I think it's going to still be a competition between Espoir and APR, and we don't know if APR is good enough to push Espoir to the wire, going by the way Espoir dominated them in the preseason tournament. But still, you would put your money on Espoir to defend their title, and maybe sell clear Sportif your team.
Right. Thank you very much, Arnold. You're watching Rise and Shine Rwanda. Makeda and I will be right back after the break. Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Let's take a look now at news making headlines here in Rwanda and around the world.
People in the northern province are being held by authorities on suspicion of bribery. This comes after officials performed an organized crackdown following several tip-offs from some drivers, members of the public and police officers that corruption was rampant in the roads of the province. The motorists were said to have been arrested at different spots attempting to bribe police officers in Gicumbi district. Police said the move to fight corruption will remain a priority, adding that it will keep fighting to reduce and end corruption.
Former Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard has called on governments to allocate more funds to improve education beyond the 2015 Millennium Development Goals. The former Premier is in the country on a 2-day visit for the UNESCO Africa Regional Conference, which kicked off yesterday. Gillard, who's currently the chairperson of the Global Partnership for Education, said governments should be giving out at least 20% of their budgets to education. Rwanda is currently working with the institution to implement a new education strategy that is expected to expand access to 12-year basic education.
Subscribers of Mutuelle de Santé have called for better services in dealing with the scheme ahead of the anticipated reforms under the Rwanda Social Security Board. This comes after several customers said that the current law has had a lot of loopholes that need to be fixed before it is transferred to the pension body. The new scheme is currently in its final stages of being passed by Parliament before the transfer can be effected. Officials said the insurance lacked clear records, which has hindered the progress. It is hoped that the new law will use a more consistent approach to get citizens to receive affordable health care.
And in international news, Egyptian authorities have suspended Football League matches indefinitely after clashes at a stadium in Cairo left more than 20 people dead. People were crushed after police fired tear gas at supporters of Zamalek who were trying to force their way in for a match against city rivals ENPPI. An arrest warrant was issued for the leaders of the Zamalek supporters group, the White Knights. The last time the league was suspended was in 2012 after 74 fans died after rioting at a game in Port Said. Time now for a review of the headlines. Sonny Nhayombia from the New Times joins us now to look through some of the front pages.
Welcome, Sonny.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you back again. So the two-day UNESCO Africa Regional Conference started yesterday. Going to be discussing the Education for All experience here in Rwanda, making some plans and some reviews. Tell us, where are we as Rwanda at in our goals for education?
Well, if we look at it in terms of the Millennium Development Goals, which talk about the number of people in primary school, the number of women, women and men in primary school and having an education, we're doing pretty well. We actually reached our Millennium Development Goals in terms of that, in terms of having 6-year basic education. Now, we actually went one better, and we started instituting a policy of 9-year basic education. And now we're trying to reach a level of having a proper 12-year education, which would be the whole of primary and the whole of secondary, which is pretty ambitious, but it is something that we should be quite happy as a country to have accomplished, especially when we look at the way how we're doing in comparison with other African nations. Right now, other than us and Botswana, there's absolutely no African nation that is actually able to reach its goals in terms of its MDGs. And that is something I feel we should give a credit to the government for being able to, to really reach these goals. 1 year before 2015, which is this year, we reached our goals last year.
Now, one thing I need clarification on. Rwanda is trying to be the sole custodian of the ICTR archives, since we know the ICTR is closing down next year. But why wait this long? Why didn't they do it a long time ago?
Well, I find it quite amusing that only a year before its closing are we starting to get some kind of ball rolling, Yes, there has been discussions at a certain level, especially in the level of the ministries of justice and the people at the ICTR. However, I do really believe that our stint in the UN Security Council should have given us a great opportunity to kind of talk to the big boys.
To lobby for it.
To lobby for it, because you see, the UN Security Council will be the one that awards or rejects Rwanda's wish to have the archives, and we really should have done it a lot sooner. It's just so unfortunate that it's only now that things are starting to try to move forward. Yeah.
Let's move on to the last headline. The former chairman of the U.S. Central Bank, Alan Greenspan, has predicted that Greece will inevitably exit the euro. Now, what does this mean? As some people may have already seen that coming, unfortunately, but what does this mean for Rwanda, for East Africa?
Well, personally, that issue, as what Alan Greenspan was saying, that if there is no resolution between what the new Greek government wants, which is a renegotiation of not only the amounts of money that are owed
the rate as well,
but also the rate, okay, and the payment protocol for it, and the EU and the ECB and especially the German government are not willing to say, okay, let's renegotiate this, then something will have to give. Either Germany will lose face, or Greece will have to, disappoint its own population. I don't see that happening. I see a big car crash coming. And
For the euro.
For the euro, because if Greece is unable, totally defaults on its debts, it might, as a move to, to finish that problem, might just say, we're moving on from the euro, to hell with you, we'll go back to our old currency.
Right.
What does that mean? The euro as a system, as a money for that whole region will not be able to withstand such a shock. So what does this mean? I see in the future, as this confusion continues, because it's not going to be resolved anytime soon, I see the euro falling against other international currencies and especially against the Rwandan franc. So you say, what does it mean for us? Well, it means that, one, if we are receiving euros, say, from donors, okay, we're not going to do as much as we used to do for the same, the same euro amount, because, yes. Two, if we have importers who are importing, say, European equipment, that means that if we look at the franc will be slightly strong against the euro. That means we could exchange less francs for more euros, which will make it a bit cheaper to import from European nations.
Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this question, but what would that mean for Greece?
Well, for Greece, it's disaster.
Right.
It's disaster, and sometimes the East African region, they talk about having one East African currency. I think us as East Africans should look at the situations in Europe and say, hey, we might want to do this very, very slowly because there's so many risks. Yes, there are advantages, but there are a huge amount of risks.
Right. Well, thank you so much again, Sunny. We always love to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Lots more still to come. Lifestyle is up next. Plus, we take a look at what's hot right now in our daily debate section, Hot Topics. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Rwanda. Lifestyle now. Alan is out, but Makeda has all the details.
Lately, it seems like Rwanda's entertainment scene is growing every day, with more and more screenings, art exhibits, comedy shows, and live bands taking over Kigali's weekend. One event seems to be at the forefront of this fun revolution, bringing international and local acts together for small shows every few months, culminating in a big festival taking place every summer. Last week was the latest installment of the Kigali Up Soundcheck series, where we were there to capture it. Take a look. Kigali Up is an annual music festival bringing together international and local music, art, food, and fun all in one space. Over the years, the festival has featured African megastars such as Ismail Lo and Habib Koite, international Rwandan acts such as Shad and Nicole Musoni, and all of your favorite local acts from Riderman to Urban Boys to J. Polly in their summer main event. But once a year just isn't enough. So Kigali Up decided to supplement the funk throughout the year with their spontaneous soundcheck series. Thais Diarra is the latest international headliner to hit Kigali's hills for a soundcheck session. And this Malian, Senegalese, Swiss songstress captivated patrons at the Milcoline Hotel this weekend.
It was beyond. It was amazing. Like, I am having such a blast, and I can't wait for future Kigali Up events, because this one was really good, but also the last one was amazing.
Well, it's amazing. Like you can see, it's something good for us. We interact with new people, new clients, and the audience is really fantastic. It's good for us.
It was so energetic. Like, you felt it, and then you could feel that the crowd was feeling it, which made me even more excited about it. I really liked it. I think for like the social culture of Rwanda or Kigali, it's really needed. So when we see the gatherings right here, you see so many people, and everyone is so excited, and they're really feeling it. So if there's something I would say is more.
I think she said it best. Makeda Mahario, Rise and Shine Rwanda. Okay, and joining us now is Eric Kirenga of Afro Groove. You are one of the collaborators of Kigali Up.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about Kigali Up.
Kigali Up is that annual festival. It's happening once a year in July, open air. We've got live music. Live music is really important. We want every musician to play live. We've got entertainment. We've got like food, market stalls. We just try to gather a whole lot of different creative and entrepreneur to come and gather for 2 days and just like, celebrate life, celebrate Rwanda, and bring Rwanda to a new light by bringing local artists to rub their shoulder with international artists. And then those international artists come, they bring their knowledge, their know-how to show the Rwandan scene how is it to get outside.
So Kigali Up, we've seen that it's just been growing year after year. It's growing bigger. We have big acts that come here, but it's not just the festival, right? There's also some other events that surround it.
It's the idea of the festival is really to professionalize the music industry, and the best way to professionalize the music industry is to inspire people. I think that due to access to everything in technology, people can see what are the big acts doing. And it's really easy to be inspired by the Chris Brown or the Lil Wayne, but there's a process behind all that. Those guys didn't come at the top of the game just like overnight. There's a whole process into it. So we just try together to bring all those elements together by creating workshops as well. The community into the festival 2 or 3 weeks before, there's like sound engineering, light engineering coming through, stage managers, photographers, and we've got a whole bunch of volunteers who are coming to be part of Kigali Up and learning from professionals coming from France, from Belgium, from America, who are coming to interact with the local people, the local creative people, not only the artists and the musician, but also the people who want to be into the industry.
So tell me, there is the big Kigali Up in the summer, each summer, but then there is the Soundcheck series.
Yeah, but it wasn't enough. Once a year, however the size and the space of the Amaro Stadium, which is a wonderful space to do what we do, is just not enough. People are very hungry for that kind of quality entertainment, and there's been demand for us to tour the country and to do things in other cities as well, where the diaspora is or where other African communities are. There's a network of different festivals happening in the East African region, South African region. We won't have that conversation happening, but we have to start slowly. So we're going to start like slowly by doing a Soundcheck series, which is like a partnership we have with the Milcolin Hotel, who've been most amazing partners, supporters forever. Since we started, it's the 3rd session, and they're really down with us. They want us to bring international artists who come with the original material, which is a very important point. We bring people who come and write their own song, arrange their own song, and rub their shoulder with the local bands playing at the Milcolin. And Milcolin become that destination, that spot where you can listen to music every day. So. And they've got an hotel, they've got a nice little, gastronomy going on. So there's nice food, nice services, nice ambiance. Room. So it's all in one. We don't need to go from place to place with our performers. They all come to one place and they've got the whole thing going on there.
Now, this Soundcheck series that happened with Thais Diarra.
Thais Diarra.
She was amazing. People loved her. You saw the people really enjoyed. How did you manage to get her here for this?
That's the story. Okay. As part of Kigali Up, we have a bunch of volunteers. The founder of Kigali Up Festival is Popo, Mighty Popo, musician, who's been like doing the music for 20 years in Canada and internationally.
Very acclaimed folk singer.
Yeah, exactly. Acclaimed, nominated in 2011. So his network is really wide. Me, myself, I've been working in London for more than 17 years as well. So, and I've always been involved into a kind of bit of, cultural activism. So we get to know a lot of artists. There's that, if you want to get that image, you get the underground artists, those ones who never make money, that your parents are very afraid you're going to become a musician because you're going to be like on that platform.
Right.
And then you get the big musician, the world-class musician, those that you see on TV, you hear on the radio, you see them everywhere. And then between those two, there's those hard-working artists who are making kind of okay for themselves. They are touring, they are recording albums, they're doing collaboration, but we never get to hear them.
Right.
And those people, we have a wide network of them. Thais Diarra, she came out in my radar because I'm always looking for new artists, new happening, new network. And as a DJ, I'm always like, looking forward to that sound. When I first heard her, that was the sound that I want.
Right.
As a DJ, I think that, to be able to fuse acoustic traditional music and give it a bit of an edge by using instruments and digital technology is the way to go. That's what Afro Groove is about. It's about bringing the Africanness into the modern age. And when I first heard the album, I was like, that girl, she's singing Bambara from Mali, she's singing Wolof from Senegal, she's singing in French, in English, she's using kora. She's got that new soul vibe. She's comfortable with reggae. She can do the hip hop. She got the fashion sense. She looks amazing. She could be a model. She could be, visually she's good, talent, and the songwriting as well. The lyrics, she's talking about identity. She's talking about, she's a kind of she's not like a hard political activist, but she's engaged. She talks about issues that concerns of all, as African in Africa and African in displacement and the diaspora, the Afropolitans as we call them,
right.
The Afropeen as we call them.
And she's not the only one that Kigali Up has worked with. This soundcheck was the Thais Diarra, but there was also Bez who was here. You also had a huge megastar Ismail Lo on a Kigali Up stage. And Dede, of course, our very own Dede.
You saw Nicole Moussoni as well.
Of course.
Moussoni, she's Rwandese, she's living in Canada, and she's doing her own thing. But at the same time, last year, 2 years ago when she came to do Kigali Up, she took the advantage to go into Gisenyi and to shoot a wonderfully shot video with a partner who's a photographer, and they managed to, if you see that video, you're gonna see that. Yeah, she managed to just show Rwanda like people never see before, and she got a different sound, and it's very soulful, and she's got that look, she got those fabulous hair.
So this is the idea of Kigali Up, just bringing African voices that we don't get to see quite as often to our stages.
Is to really elevate. If you're looking at what's going on right now in popular culture, Africa, people are looking at what's going on in Africa. The market, without going too much like, too deep into it, the European market, popular market, is getting saturated.
Right.
So they're looking for new inspiration, and it's very cyclical. They're looking to North America. Arabic sound was very in at some point.
Yeah.
Latin American sound was really in at some point. Yeah. The Indian sound was really in at some point.
And now we're looking inward.
The next thing is going to be Africa. But when we talk about the sound of Africa, we're talking about the full cycle, because we say that every music origin from Africa, and now it's coming back. So we better be ready to defend ourselves.
Kigali Up is definitely bringing those sounds to us now. Very quickly before we have to wrap up, what is the future of Kigali Up? Because I'm looking forward to the next Soundcheck series every time.
Exactly. So we're going to bring those artists who can inspire you, and what you heard in the little vox pop that you did is very what I heard as well after that. I heard musicians telling me that they're looking at music differently because of that thing.
Oh man.
So the idea would be for Kigali Up to be a star springboard, that we can create people and bring them and have Angelica Kidjo get an award. Why not a Rwandese in the next few years?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Eric, for coming and telling us about Kigali Up.
Thank you for having me.
Soundcheck series, as well as Kigali Up. We're looking forward to what else you have coming our way. And you guys do not go anywhere. Hot Topics is coming up next.
Welcome back, and it's that Hot Topics time again. As always, the Rise and Shine Rwanda team have been out and about, gathering everything you need to know about what's happening here and around the world. From what's trending on Twitter to the debates in your local cafe, we've got it for you right here, right now. All right, so let's start with the Chan. I mean, the African Cup of Nations just ended. I'm pretty sure Makeda and Fidelis are very aware of that. And now the next big thing when it comes to continental football is going to be Chan. Now, the difference between the African Cup of Nations and Chan is that Chan is a pretty recent competition. I mean, it started in 2007, if I remember correctly, 2007. And it's a competition of the best countries in Africa, but you can only play local players, basically meaning your squad can only have players that play in national championships, as opposed to the African Cup of Nations, which has been going on for a very long time. This was the 30th edition, and the African Cup of Nations, this one, you can have players from abroad playing in Europe, professionals basically participate. So this one is being hosted in Rwanda. But what I'm hearing from social media and and on the streets is that we might not be quite so ready for it. Is that true, Arnold?
Is it as big as the African Cup of just know, right?
It's almost as big as the African Cup of Nations because you again have the same number of teams coming down to Rwanda for the tournament. You need the same number of hotels, you need the same number of venues, and that's where we are kind of lacking at the moment. The stadium that was supposed to be prepared, the two stadiums, which were supposed to have been made by a Turkish construction company that won the bid, have not repairs have not yet started, and some stadium was supposed to be built from the ground. That's in Gatenga.
Are you serious? So hold on. So it was going to be Nyamirambo Regional and then Amahoro?
Actually, Nyamirambo is not going to host. We're going to have four. We're going to have Huye, one of the stadium in Huye, the University Stadium. We're going to have Amahoro, Gatenga, and then Kichuchuro. That's where another new stadium was supposed to be built, a 50,000 seater. And now there are blame games between the contractors and the Ministry of Sports. The Ministry of Sports says that what the designs the guys who are going to construct were giving them were not feasible. Well, the Turkish company are saying the ministry is not releasing the funds. So there's an in-between there, but the tournament has to go on.
So we're not sure what's going to happen, but you know what? I think we faced harder struggles in the past.
Fine.
So I think that we're
find a way to make it work.
going to manage to make it work. There's another hot topic. The Grammys were on Sunday, and big international superstar Angelique Kidjo actually ended up giving her, or dedicating her Grammy, rather, to the women of Africa. Now, Angelique Kidjo is a huge singer from Benin, and this is actually her second Grammy, and she said that she's dedicating it to women in Africa, their beauty and their resilience, and she said, African women rock. That's a quote, okay? So, you know what? I think that's just a nice one, because it's nice to recognize
And I love
where
her music. She's really good, and she's original, and you know, as much as she tries to do a little bit of, you know, international and, you know, the modern bits and hits, at the end of the day, she comes back to the original. I love
You guys remember the first song that got her first Grammy?
Sing a little bit.
Come on, guys. It's called that Gordo. YouTube. Exactly, that was the one.
No, honestly, I think it's really great, you know, and just a nice shout out. You know, it's not like some people, they say that they make it and then they kind of forgot. Never with Angelique Kidjo. So shout out, very proud of her for winning that Grammy, and I'm excited for the next African to win a Grammy to be a Rwandan person. Okay, anyway, we'll see what happens.
It will happen.
For sure.
Right, well, don't forget, we love to hear your thoughts, comments, and feedback on what we're talking about here on Rise and Shine Rwanda. Tweet us at Rise and Shine RW. Like us on Facebook and send us your ideas for programs. Check out our Rise and Shine YouTube page where you can catch all the shows and the reports we do. Find us on Instagram, Rise and Shine RW. We'd love to see your pictures. Or check out our Rise and Shine
website.
That's going to be a blooper for sure. For sure.
Well, that's all that we have for today. We love to hear your feedback, and do let us know if you have any ideas for the program. You've been watching Rise and Shine Rwanda with me, Makeda Mahadio.
And me, Regis Ishesha. We'll be here same time, same place tomorrow. Do join us then, but for now, from the both of us and this beautiful team here, have a very good day.
Bye.
Goodbye.